Hi all, this is the badging video for the media room here at MakeHaven. So this is the media room. A few things right off the bat. You can see that this is a badged room, which means that you need to watch the video, take the quiz, and do a checkout with the facilitator before getting access to the room. At the end of your checkout, you'll get a code to get into the room. You can reserve this room by scanning the QR code. Here are some rules to keep in mind about that. Reservations must be made 4 hours in advance, maximum of 8 hours in length. Try not to make it hard for other people to use the space. And if someone doesn't show up for their reservation within 15 minutes, then anyone else can use the space and staff can reject reservations. If you are using the space, then you're welcome to set this to occupied. If someone is using the space and then your reservation time comes up, then you're welcome to knock on the door and let them know. When you're done using the room, please return this to vacant. There's also a peephole, so you can check to see if in fact anyone is using the room or they just forgot and left this set to occupied. And as with the entire space, absolutely no smoking. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna go in. And this is the space. And we're just gonna kind of do all the things in here that you need to know, except for using the camera, which is in that safe. That's a separate badge. So first off, you see that it is clean in here. Things are put away, organized. This is exactly how you need to make sure that you leave the room. We have cameras, so if you come in here and you notice that the room is not put back the way that it should be, if anything is missing or dirty, then please post on the Slack channel for the media room so that we can check the cameras and get in touch with whoever was using the room before you. There is a broom and dustpan right here for you to use. Please make sure to throw away any trash. Don't leave anything in here. So there are some softbox lights. You can change the colors on those for photography or videography. There are more lights up on this shelf, and you are welcome to fold these lights up and put them away on this shelf if you don't need them. Back here are some backdrops, which can be raised and lowered using the chains on the sides. If there are wrinkles that you want to get rid of, we have a steamer up there, as well as a lint sticker remover. Over here, we also have this big reflector for lights, and behind it is a portable photo studio. So this has lights built in. You can open it up and use it for product photography. All right, so we're gonna come over to the computer. So the computer has a few different input options. One of them is this fancy computer we have down here, and that is HDMI 1. So using the remote, you can change the input. HDMI 1 is this computer. HDMI 2 is the Chromecast, so you can use Chromecast to connect to this. We also have this HDMI cable here if you want to connect your own computer to it. When you're done, please make sure to set it back to HDMI 1 so that the next person has an easy time using the computer. Also, as a note, this table folds down. There are little levers right under here that you can lift, and that will drop down the table. So if you are doing photography or you want more space and don't need this table, you can fold that down. Just please fold it back up when you're done. So sitting here, you can see that we are greeted with a login screen. Once you're badged on the media room, you can use your membership card to access the computer. So you just click into this box and then scan your card right on this scanner. And now it says that access is granted. So here we are using this computer. A few things to note about the computer. If there are other pieces of software that you would like to have added to the computer, post that in the media room channel on Slack. And bear in mind that while you can put any files on the hard drive, which is drive D, they may be deleted at any time. So do not store any important files on this computer. You should bring your own drive to store your files on. You can use the hard drive when you're processing, rendering, etc., but don't leave anything here and expect it to stay here. There are also 2 webcams here. So one is here and the other is on that wall. So if you're hosting a podcast, you can use those cameras. They're both USB webcams that are plugged into the computer. As a note on the computer, all of these are sort of critical USB plugs. Don't touch those. And then over here are USB ports that you're welcome to use. And this is the MV7X and the MV7, both of which are dynamic microphones. This one just has a few other features on it. It also has some other outputs, so USB and a 3.5 millimeter jack, in case that's useful to you. All three of these microphones use XLR jacks, and these can be plugged into the audio interface, which is right here, a Focusrite 18i8. We obviously have a number of other potential inputs, so there are some instruments, there are MIDI inputs, as well as some controller boards. In terms of outputs, we have headphones on the shelf there and monitor speakers up here. If you're using the Focusrite, there's a power switch on the back. It's already switched on. Here it is switched off. We're gonna look at the back of it quickly. So on the back, our monitor is connected to outputs 1 and 2. A little hard to see there, but you can see that. In the Focusrite software, you can select Alt, that will light up, and that will send it to 3 and 4. So if sound isn't coming out to your monitor speakers, that could be one reason. Also, the speakers have a power switch, so make sure that that is turned on. The volume knob on the monitor speakers has been locked so that we don't accidentally blow out the speakers. So the volume control for those is here. When you are recording, when you're playing music, when you're singing, you want to turn this down so that you don't have feedback. You don't have music coming out of those speakers and the back into your microphone. So make sure to turn that down when you're recording. All right, so now we're gonna look at the front of the machine, especially these 4 inputs here. But before we go through that, I wanna talk about the 4 different signal levels in the audio world. So the lowest signal level is a microphone input, and that is a very low voltage coming from a microphone. When you are using a microphone level input on this, it should be coming in over an XLR cable, and you'll want to select Air on the Focusrite in the software to let it know that it is a microphone level input. Then the next higher level input is a instrument level input. Everything except for microphones should be using a 1/4 inch cable, and this is what a 1/4 inch plug looks like. As a note, all 4 of these will accept either an XLR or a 1/4 inch plug going into these holes. So we covered microphone level, that's only over an XLR, then and the only thing that should be going over an XLR is microphone level signal. Then we have instrument level, and instrument should be going over a 1/4 inch jack because it's not a microphone. And you can see here that instrument is only on 1 and 2. So instruments should only be going in on 1 or 2, which again, you can select in Focusrite whether you want to activate it for instrument. 3 and 4 do not have that option, so you should plug your instruments into 1 or 2. Then we have line level inputs. And the line level inputs also over a 1/4 inch jack. And for those there's the pad option. In case the signal is coming in too strong, you can select that and it will bring the signal down a little bit. There are also speaker level, which is an amplified signal that's going to a speaker. So that's the strongest level signal, and you probably shouldn't be plugging that into this machine. You should just plug that into speakers. All right, so those are the signal levels. Here we've looked at the 4 inputs and the type of things that can go in them. There's also this 48 volt. There are 2 kinds of microphones that we have in this room. One are dynamic microphones like this. The other are condenser microphones like that. Often people like condenser microphones for vocals, but a thing about condenser microphones is that they require some electricity to work. And that's what this 48 volt button is for. So this button applies to inputs 1 and 2, and this one applies to 3 and 4. And if we push this, then it's gonna send 48 volts of what's called phantom power to the microphone. And if it's a condenser microphone, then it needs that to work. If you're plugging in one of the podcast microphones, a dynamic microphone, or this handheld microphone over here, then you want to turn off the 48 volts. Sending the 48 volts to a microphone or an instrument that does not need it could damage it. So make sure not to do that. Around each of these individual gain knobs for each of these inputs, there's actually a light. And so when you activate that input, when there's sound coming into it, this will light up. If you start to see that light turn orange or red, that means that clipping is happening. So that means that the signal coming in is too strong and it is getting clipped or modified to protect the machine. So you need to turn down the gain or modify the input signal to make sure that that doesn't happen. And then I think the only other things we haven't covered on here are this MIDI light. So if you connect a MIDI input to the back of the machine and you select it in the Focusrite software, this will turn on. Alt, I think we mentioned. Here are two headphone outputs. So you can connect the 1/4-inch plugs to the headphones over there. And these are the volume controls for those headphones. Now we're gonna go up here to the computer and I'm going to open up the Focusrite control software and we can see a few things here. So let's first look at our inputs. So we have our 4 analog inputs, 1, 2, 3, and 4. On the first one, we have a microphone. So we're gonna have air selected. If you wanted it to be an instrument, we would click instrument and then down here, instrument lit up. But it's not an instrument, so we can turn that off. You can also name the different inputs if that's helpful to you, to name them here, though bear in mind that other people might move things around. Then over here on our outputs, we have our monitors, and right now you can't modify that monitor output with your mouse because it's connected here. So if I move this knob, then you can see this go up and down. So that's how we control that using the knob. If sound isn't coming out, it might be because this mute button is clicked, so make sure it isn't muted. And you can select whether you want it to be stereo or mono. And then these are the other outputs that you can control. Right now, the only one that we have plugged in are the monitor speakers that we see up here. Another setting you need to make sure is set for the system to work is down here. You want to right-click that little audio symbol, click Open Sound Settings, and then here you need to select the Focusrite USB audio so that the sound is being routed through Focusrite. So this is the software that we use to bring the audio from the Focusrite into the computer, or vice versa if we're making things on the computer and want to send that signal out to the Focusrite and to the speakers. That's how we do that. But this is not the audio editing software. So for that, we have Reaper, which is right down here. And this software takes the signal from Focusrite and lets you actually make music with those various inputs. If you're trying to learn more, there are tons of YouTube videos and online tutorials for using this software. We're just going to cover the very basics to get you started here. The first thing is that if this isn't working for some reason, you want to make sure that under Options, and then down here under Preferences, Audio System is set up this way. So under Device, the audio system is ASIO, and then the driver is this Focusrite USB ASIO. So to make it all work, that needs to be set properly. So then if we right click here and click Insert New Track, then we can see our new track has appeared. So you can select the inputs here that you want. So right now we're set to input 1, but there are all of these inputs that are on the machine that you can select from, as well as the MIDI inputs on the back of the machine. You can also name your track right up here. So you can, so it's easier to keep track of what each track is. So then when you're ready to record your inputs, you can click here to arm that particular input. And then down here, you start the recording by doing that. To make this actually work, we're gonna go back to Focusrite and we're gonna go to our inputs and tell it that we do in fact have a microphone here, and we're gonna activate the 48 volts because it's a condenser microphone. And then you can see everything come alive here. And then we're gonna go to the microphone, and here we just wanna have this set to 0 decibels. These are some other settings you can learn about if you're interested, but I'm going to talk into the microphone and let's see what happens. So I'm going to talk here and you can see that little input light lighting up. You can see that signals going to the outputs that are being turned on. And even though we have the monitor turned down, I can still hear it coming out of the monitors a little bit. So you'd want to turn that down all the way if we were actually recording. On the input screen, you can also see that it's telling us we have our input. And if you see that little red dot up at the top, that's telling us that the 48 volts have been activated. And over in Reaper, you can see that it's showing us this input is live. And if we start the record button, then it will start recording the signal. So I'm going to talk into the microphone. This input is armed and we're going to start the recording. And now you can see when I'm talking into the microphone, it's showing up on this track recording. I'm going to hit spacebar to stop the recording. And it's telling us it's asking us if we want to save this. If you do save a file, so it's going to go on the hard drive down here into the hard drive disk D, into member files, and then Reaper projects. This is where it would save to. So you should obviously name your file something that you will recognize if you're going to save it there. Reaper has tons of different capabilities within it, so I encourage you to watch tutorials and learn more about using the software in depth. Then let's look at some of the other inputs we have over here. So there are the guitars, which have their cables on them. You'll notice that all of the cables for all of the devices should be nicely coiled up with their Velcro straps. So when you're done, make sure to put them back just like that. And if you see one that is not put back nicely, please do everyone a favor and coil it up nicely with the Velcro. Another quick note is that when you are coiling a cable, I'm going to show you the best way to coil the cable to make sure that it lasts as long as possible. So we're going to start by making this first loop like this. And that's what I'm going to call an overhand loop. And then the next one, you want to flip around into an underhand loop. And we're going to alternate overhand and then we're going to just alternate doing overhand, underhand, overhand, and underhand. And the benefit of doing it that way is that it doesn't make the wire all twisted up. And when you pull this out, it doesn't come with any twists and coils in it. So once you've done that, then you just take this Velcro strap and strap it up. So then over here, we have a VR headset. We have a larger digital camera. When you're using that, make sure to leave the SD card in the machine when you're done. That is part of the machine. It's not taken out and used for something else. Down here, all the tripod things. So tripods for holding a phone camera, for holding other cameras. This are all the lights. Down here are the headphones. We saw this microphone, which you can plug the XLR cable into. The DSLR camera. Down here is a larger keyboard. And as we noted before, each of these things has the cables that go with it. So make sure to put those cables back nicely and use the appropriate cables for the appropriate machines because they each want different voltages and inputs. So it's important to use the right power supply and whatnot for each one. Here's a smaller keyboard, and then down here are controllers. And then when you're done, you just want to close everything out. Make sure to end your session here. Make sure to save anything that you want on your own storage that you can take away. You can also go to bucket.makehaven.org to drop your files into to pick them up on another computer within the MakeHaven network. Then we're going to click End Session. And on the screen is a reminder to clean and put everything away and change the door sign to vacant. You're going to clean up the room well, take all of your things with you, put everything away that needs being put away. Turn this guy off. And out here, we're going to set this back to vacant. Turn the lights off. And and close the door firmly to make sure that it locks. Thanks for watching.